Okay, so I couldn't think of someone better to bring on other than maybe
Yes.
someone from like Rico, which we wouldn't do, but Darren Slavens.
The man most tortured by
broker of record,
the
owner,
change.
president,
All around
cheerleader
good guy.
of Slavens and Associates.
Yes.
Is here to talk about TRESA.
Can we talk about something else besides
I know
TRESA?
I know, but that was the whole point because I feel like you and I have the same perspective on it, and it's not about talking about the details. So, first of all, TRESA stands for. Hold on. Okay, so TRESA. We have so much to say. So TRESA stands for Trusted Real Estate
Services Act.
And I just want to preface it by saying that I feel like everything, and hopefully I don't get thrown out of trouble for saying this, or Rico or whoever put it together, is far from adding any trust in this. The whole reasoning behind it was to create clarification and visibility and transparency and to create more trust amongst the public with real estate agents. And I believe that it's going to do the exact opposite. But welcome, Darren.
Okay, yeah, I don't agree with that statement.
Okay.
My issue with TRESA is the rollout.
Which was started December 1st. Like
It came into effect December 1st. And we saw it coming and coming and coming. But when it got here, it was just here. And
for us, or you mean the public, or just in general?
No, for us. The public doesn't give two shits. They don't know about it. They don't care about it. I don't think it's going to have some big public relations desired effect. I do think there's good things within TRESA. I like a lot of it. My big issue again is the rollout and how we're expected to turn on a dime. And I think they weren't prepared for the changes properly, and they didn't prepare us well enough for the changes. And for you as an agent, you have a team, you got to worry about you and your teammates. I got 80 people to worry about, plus staff, plus making sure everything in the office is updated for it. I got a sinus infection. I want to shoot myself. It's like been a horrible transition.
Gave him a sinus infection. Actually, that's not it at all. But
it did. It feels like TRESA did it to me.
Okay. TRESA was like death by 1,000 cuts. Yeah. So first of all, I disagree with you in the sense that I think the public won't give a shit about it. So I believe there's three components that I wanted to point out. First of all, the like multiple representation. I don't know if I actually even really agree with it. I don't think that the public's really going or agree or understand it. But I think it's almost status quo from a public standpoint. It all has to be explained anyway. Again, in regards to, oh my God, what was the second piece that changed? But I think that the third one, I'll remember the second one in a second, but the third one that I think will make the biggest splash is this idea that now as a seller, you can allow your agent to tell everybody what is in an offer. So we all know during COVID, it was insanity. And there was like 300 people lined up just to get a 15-minute viewing into a house. It was the only house on the market. And then there was this big auction thing and everybody was really upset, right? And they didn't know what was there. And they felt like it was all a scam and no one was telling the truth and all this stuff. So now this is where I'm going back to the trusted, like that they're going to create this trusted, or they think they're going to create this trusted environment, but it's not so straightforward. And there's so much ability for it to go very wrong and actually make buyers even more upset.
I don't know if I agree with you. I think it has just as much chance of going wrong. I don't think there's additional chance for it to go wrong other than people really won't know how to behave in the beginning. The concept of now being able to disclose details of offers is an interesting one. In a market like we're in today, I think that's beneficial for a seller. In a hot market where you're dealing with multiple offers, I think a seller would have to be crazy to disclose the details of offers because blind bidding will inevitably end up getting them more money. Now, it's not...
Which made everybody upset.
Which made buyers upset.
Yes.
But it made sellers very happy. And ultimately, we represent sellers first. It's our job to get the most amount of money possible for a seller, right? When we're acting for the seller.
Acting for the sellers,
correct.
Yes.
Now,
So now,
even if the seller decides now to disclose price, buyers have the ability to say, I don't want you to disclose my offer.
So let's back up. So the new policy is that a seller can choose, right? So it's not like, I think that's where I believe there's going to be confusion, is that they're going to hear in a headline by some newspaper to get the clicks that now there's transparency in the bidding process and sellers will disclose. That's not the case. There is now the opportunity to say to sellers, and I think buyers will be upset when they find out that's the case. So that's one, which I guess would be the media's fault, but whatever. I'm throwing them under the bus before they've done anything. And then two is, so they get there and the seller's like, okay, I'm going to sign a directive that says that I'm going to disclose. Okay. And like you said, all of a sudden, and listen, as good as we are at our jobs, sometimes we can't always predict whether there's going to be, as much volume and activity in every single sale. So now we get to a situation and now they've got 3 offers on the table out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And they go, I changed my mind.
Right.
I'm the buyer. And I'm like, seriously?
Yeah, but really, how much does it affect you as a buyer? If anything, it may mess up the agent a little bit, but as a buyer, I don't think it really is going to affect you all that much. And I don't think it'll happen all that often.
Okay.
But we'll see. It's going to depend on the type of market we're in. I think the biggest changes with TRESA are, one, self-represented parties.
That was the other one, thank you.
And dealing with, we used to have a thing called customer service, right? And I hated that. Customer service never made any sense to me.
So I'm going to back up because a lot of people may not know this. So if you haven't bought and sold in a long time, you can everyone just thinks you have your agent, right? So you can have your agent represent you as a client, which means you are giving them full responsibility to act and negotiate on your behalf and represent your needs, okay, and your goals. Or you can act as their customer, in which we really have an administrative role.
Yeah, we can't give any advice. We can't discuss strategy. We can't discuss anything about the seller. All we can do is fill out paperwork for you.
Right. They're just like, I'm going to negotiate. I'm going to tell you what to do. I just want you to fill out the paperwork. This is how much I want. This is what you go back in. And I believe there's probably people who did that.
For sure.
I mean, I've done it. I've never loved multiple representation. I mean, multiple representation is basically out. Like, it's not legal in Vancouver anymore, is it? Like in BC?
Yes, there's some districts, but it's still legal in Toronto.
Right. And they're usually, but you know what? I know you will probably disagree with me. I don't love it, and I actually wish that on some level that it was gone.
I actually think what they've done is made multiple representation much more palatable. I'm not as uncomfortable with it as I was before.
Oh, really?
Yep. I think designated representation is a fantastic thing.
Because now it's just decided,
Yeah, so it used to be that the only thing that really existed was the brokerage. So if you were acting for 2 people on a transaction within the brokerage, it was technically multiple representation.
Right.
Now that's not the case. Now we have designated representation. So the agent does matter. And now you and I can both represent 2 different people for the same property, and those lines don't get blurred. So it's much clearer. There's much less chance for problems this way. I'm much happier with this version.
I also never I guess on some level, the different brokerages, work differently, but as 2 agents who don't work together, not on the same team, and being considered multiple representation never felt good, right to me, because at the end of the day, I should not be just because we're in the same brokerage. And yes, the contract you sign is not with Rachel Levy, but with Slavens and Associates. So on paper and contractually and legally, I get that. But in actual execution, I'm not talking to another agent about my client's sensitive information. I'm not.
Sure, but it does happen. Like someone could say something at a sales meeting, or you're walking past their office and you hear
fair.
what
There's
offers have come in, or the agent, you go out for coffee, they let something slip, whatever the case may be.
Which could also happen in other areas.
Sure.
But anyway, yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's a good point. And I've done customer service. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to interrupt. Self-represented party to me is also fantastic because we don't have to do anything for them anymore.
Well, there's a clean line. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a clean line. Okay, you want to represent yourself? Fine. You're on your own. I don't have to do anything for them.
No.
which
right.
is great
Right.
because there used to be circumstances where people would expect you to do work for them and not get paid. And that was a big waste of time. Even though you're doing your best for your seller, now they can represent themselves. There's no increased liability on our part. We have no responsibility to them. It's much cleaner.
Yeah, I agree with you. The liability. So I was going to say, like in my early days, I would do that for free. If I had like a really tough like listing that hadn't sold and you got someone come in and they were like, okay, we need you to do it. Well, you did it for free to get it done because the client needed to sell their house, but you're also doing all the paperwork, the liabilities there. You're in there for the home inspection. And not to say that I'm not happy to go that extra mile for a seller. It's not the point, but I agree with you that there is a clean line.
Right. And once it's
Multiple
explained
representation,
to
it's
them,
hard.
once it's explained to them, I think far fewer people will choose self-represented. They will want someone acting in their best interest.
Well, it's actually also a really interesting, like after this, I'm going to do a podcast debate about whether there is value in this whole idea of like buyer's agents and whether they're going, out the window, and that there is, and I think that the self-represented parties will understand once we are told, okay, great, that's what you're doing. Wonderful. Let us know what your next steps are. Call us when you're ready. They're going to understand all of the.
If you're a good agent, and I think we only have good agents at Slavens. But if you're a good agent, I think
Handpicked by Darren. Yes.
buyer representation is the most important part of real estate. I think we have the most opportunity to protect people. We have the most opportunity to do good for people. I love buyer representation.
Yeah, no,
I don't think it's going anywhere.
No, I think, listen, like you said, when done properly, I think obviously the challenge also is that the seller pays the commission and they don't see the hard work that's on the other side. Yeah. That is
and usually the buyer's agent makes more than the listing agent, which is crazy.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it also depends.
Yes.
It really also depends.
It does for sure.
But to go back to like the transparency in the offers, I know that you think it's not going to necessarily affect that buyer so much. But we also know that most of this business is done with emotions. Yeah. It's a psychological business. Yeah. We see markets crash over psychological things, not about economies almost at sometimes. And so to me, I can see going into offers with buyers who, really want this home. And the seller says, I'm not going to tell everybody what, the offers are. And then they find out they are.
Right.
And they're going to feel taken advantage of. They're going to feel like it's against them and they didn't know ahead of time.
So we'll have to do a better job explaining the possibilities at the beginning of the process.
And again, going back to like good and bad is if you don't manage your client's expectations and you don't say, listen, the seller says they're not going to tell everybody what the offers are, but they have the right to change that at any time. But I mean, how many horror stories do you hear about people who have these agents who didn't tell them this and didn't tell them that? And you've got people and then they're like, screw you, Now, on the other hand, what you also should know is that buyers will have the right to submit an offer, and it can say, I think we've created a clause actually about that, to say that if the seller were to change their minds, your offer is null and void.
Yeah, or it's reduced by 10%, or it's reduced, or it's revoked.
Oh, that's another interesting.
You could do anything.
And also, like, the question, listen, and we talked about this. The reality is that if you really want that house, are you going to, are you really going to say, no, I'm taking it out because you're showing, the offer?
The only reason I can see for a seller changing their mind and switching from hiding it to revealing it is because they're not getting as much money as they hoped.
Totally. For sure. If you've got a great offer in hand, you're happy.
So they want to be able to go to the next best buyer and say, just give me $50,000 and the place is yours. Give me $10,000 and the place is yours.
You know where I see it? Like I had an offer bidding war a couple of years ago in the height of the market. And it came down, I swear to God, these were my words. I said to the agent, I was like, listen, I just want to hear from you. You're saying you're not moving forward. Do whatever you want for I'm telling you, like tomorrow when your client calls you, like you're good. And he's like, yeah, it was $1,000.
It's the worst.
the worst. Yeah. And I actually, these are the words I use with my clients. I go, listen, my advice to you at this point, when you're like at that 11th hour, I'm like, what's the number that if it sells for $100 more, that you're going to sleep
You'll be
again?
okay.
You'll be okay, right? Like you'll know.
And they never are.
They never are. No, for sure.
Yeah.
But on that note, and just because we're talking about it, in the height of COVID, when everyone was screaming for visibility, and they were saying they should bring in the way they do it in Australia. So for all of you who don't know what goes on, exactly. So if you don't know what goes on in Australia, it's actually like, do they actually do it I don't know how they did it in COVID, but it's like in person. You show up. And you show up in the house. It's like a free-for-all. And it's an auction house. Like you're putting your hand. Can you imagine the emotion?
It failed miserably here. There's companies that have tried it.
Yes.
Didn't work.
No. Yeah, I remember a couple of them during COVID tried to start it and it didn't go anywhere. I mean, first of all, I think as Canadians, we're like, there's no way.
Too polite.
There's no way.
Canadians won't even lowball properties. You should do a podcast on that. It's like pulling
I wonder who
teeth,
I would have on to talk
trying
about
to get
that.
people to offer lower. We don't want to insult
I have a
them.
property right now where I have no problem with it.
Bring
Oh, God, I wish I had the opposite.
Yeah.
But I would say it was really interesting to hear people think that was going to be a better idea. Like, I think that everyone thinks, like, it's greener on the other side. Yeah. And I remember in the height of COVID also, like, I had so many listings. I was so humbled. But I hated being on that side too. You watched all these agents and they're sending in letters and they're showing up and and you're like.
In the days of presenting offers, I used to go in and I'd say, I always had the same line. I'd say, they're wonderful people. On Saturdays and Sundays, they feed the homeless. I loved presenting offers. I loved when we used to do that in person.
They've got, there's a great parody about that going on social. But no, I mean, I always said, I love when clients are like, should I write a letter? And I'm like, if you want, absolutely. But I'm just letting you know it's coming down to dollars and cents,
Yeah, although I have seen in my career, I have seen people take less money because of letters, because of other personal circumstances.
Yes.
I have seen it.
I saw a client take $10,000, was it $10 or $15,000 less? Because the agent showed up with a deposit check and the other one didn't.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Like $1,000. And that agent the next day called me and lost his mind. And I'm like,
yeah, I saw a woman take...
Not my fault, my friends.
I had 14 offers on a property, and this was like way back in the heyday. It was in Bathurst Manor. 14 offers.
What's the heyday? Like 2021 or like we're going back like
we're going
in
like
the 80s?
2011, 2012. 14 offers.
Yeah.
One offer was from my office.
Okay.
He came in, he presented the offer. And our client was like an 85, 90-year-old woman, and she recognized him. He was in his 70s. She was on the boat over from Europe with his parents and him as a little baby. And because of that, she chose his offer, $150,000 less with 14 offers. They wanted to send me to Rico. They wanted to send me to this, that. Like, I chose my own agent, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't. She wanted him to get the house because of the connection. She didn't need the money, but that was impossible to explain. Put me in the worst position as an owner.
What a beautiful story,
Great story. Yep, great story.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I always say there are unicorns.
There are.
There's no question.
I've seen letters get properties. Yeah,
I've never seen letters get properties. But deposit check, yes. Or if you just have like a really bad agent or they feel like they're just being bullied, they're not interested. But yeah, the Australian version of like, I just can't imagine you're standing there and the next thing you know, you won and you just went like $250,000 over because you just wanted to beat that person who was giving you a side eye.
Yeah.
Like, by the way, that's something I would do. I'm so competitive. I would want to win.
Just beat their
And then
ass.
my husband would be shaking me going, put your paddle down.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
Okay, so December 1st, it came into effect. And I guess the only other thing to warn the public, and I only say warn just because, like, I'm so embarrassed to have to send it to clients, is...
The info sheet?
Well, it'd be okay if it was a sheet.
Yes.
It used to be a sheet.
The info Bible?
So the info Bible about the self-represented individual buyer.
Yeah.
Which is a big change and a big deal. And as Darren talked about, definitely has a lot of benefits. But it's 14 pages.
Oh, you're better than me. I don't remember how many pages.
No, it's
long.
It's a booklet.
It's a booklet.
It's a booklet, and you, as a buyer, will need to read it and sign it.
Yeah.
For every single.
It'll be interesting to see if people actually do read it, but hopefully they will. It's actually, aside from its length, it's not a bad document.
I think the length was the issue.
Yes. Yeah. If there was a way they could figure out to shorten it, it would be better.
No, it's just like, it's already our business has so much paperwork.
It's in all honesty, it starts the relationship off correctly. It lets our clients know literally exactly what to expect from us. And I think that's a good thing, because
I agree with you.
I think there's a lot of bad agents out there that do a lot of business. And I think consumers will now realize what they're getting. And that'll just be good for better agents.
Yeah, let's hope it changes the business.
Amen.
All right. Well, thank you, Darren.
You're welcome.
Always a pleasure.
My pleasure.
Feel better.
Sorry, sorry.
Feel better.
I will. But it's an infection, so you're safe.
I mean, you know me. You could have COVID. I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're never getting COVID.
Yeah, I've never had it.
Yeah, you've never had it.
I've never had it.
Anyway, on that note, I wish everybody happy holidays. I hope you don't get COVID either.
Adios. Thank you.
Thank you.